Welcome everybody to Red's Ramblings. I have with me today Ish, originally from Bangladesh, now currently living in the States, going for his PhD in neuroscience. Ish, go ahead and tell everybody a little bit about yourself.
Hi, everyone. My name is Ish. I have been living in the US for about 10 years now. I came to the US in 2010, but originally I'm from Bangladesh. I've also lived in Saudi Arabia. I've sort of grown up in both of these places, so I sort of identify myself as being part of both cultures and also of American culture now that I've been here for 10 years. I go to school here in the US. I do research in neuroscience on chronic pain. So chronic pain is a major disorder in the US. About 100 million people suffer from pain. And so my goal is to sort of look at new therapies, new sort of ways in which we can understand pain better, because it's led to a big crisis in the US. Opioid epidemic. So the part of where I am, Michigan especially, has a huge opioid crisis as well. So part of my research is sort of to mitigate that. So yeah, that's briefly about me.
So if you don't mind me asking, then it seems you're trying to find alternatives to painkillers.
Yeah, so that's one of our goals, or sort of things that are not addictive, things that are not reliant, that people aren't suffering from. Because part of the opioid epidemic is because people just got relied on these drugs and started abusing them to the point where it affected their health, they're dying. So my point, sort of where I am and our lab's research is focused on sort of what other methods are there. So we focus a lot on non-pharmacological treatments. So things like acupuncture, things like meditation, things like yoga, things like that have zero side effects. So we focus on how we can sort of understand these therapies better and how we can sort of ultimately prescribe patients these things and hopefully bring them more into mainstream so that they can move away from relying on painkillers solely to sort of alternative methods. So yeah.
Okay. One more question, because now I'm even more interested in you. Acupuncture. I've had a fascination with acupuncture for as long as I can remember. I've never tried it. It's not really a thing down here where I stay. But I've always been fascinated just by the way it looks. It looks like I'm one of those, if it looks cool, I kind of want to try it, right? I know there are people who say that acupuncture can be used to fix a number of different issues. I don't have an issue that I feel could be fixed by acupuncture. I just want to try it. I just want to try it. I mean, you become a human porcupine, essentially. It just, pinhead. It looks cool to me. So in your research then, is there like a legitimate, what's the word? Evidence behind acupuncture in helping that?
Yeah, so it really depends on the condition. So yeah, the literature on how acupuncture helps certain conditions is mixed. So you can see that for some things, just to back up, so acupuncture is part of traditional Chinese and Japanese Eastern medicine, basically. And so there's a lot of philosophies behind it. And a lot of these philosophies go into sort of talking about how energy flows through the body. And so very like sort of philosophical aspects about the universe and the world. So some aspects of that is not, I wouldn't say it's wrong, but it's not scientifically proven.
Correct. I think that's fair.
So, and then there is sort of the therapeutic aspect of it. So the medical aspect. So, and that has ranged from pain, depression, psychiatric illness, general well-being. You don't have anything wrong with you, but you can just, I want to try it for general well-being. So it depends on whether it's the scientific evidence behind it. I can only speak about pain.
Okay.
So for pain, because that's what I study. So pain really depends again on the type of pain disorder. So there is more disorders like fibromyalgia, which is sort of a
Yes.
whole body pain.
Yeah,
So
yeah, yeah.
for that, it is effective. So it's
Okay.
for disorders like that. But then there's things like cancer pain. So if someone
Yeah.
develops like a tumor in their body or some sort of a cancer or some sort of thing like that, they develop pain from that. And so it may not be as effective for that kind of pain. You might
Yes.
want to get proper medical attention there. You might
Oh,
want
yeah.
to go to the doctor and get chemotherapy, etc. So it might not help for that kind of pain. So it depends on what kind of pain it is. But yeah, generally, if you are having pain, you can think of it as an alternative to painkillers. Painkillers will have side effects. Acupuncture won't. That's sort of and it's really applicable for general well-being. So if you want to get it, yeah, go try it out because it's.
Yeah, I do. I want to.
Oh yeah. So I don't, thankfully I don't have any, I'm blessed that I don't have any pain disorders, but I've tried it out with sort of the acupuncturists that I work with.
Yeah. I was about to ask that.
Yeah. And they've sort of poked me with needles and it's sort of a very tingling sensation. It's in a way it's very magical. Like someone will poke you, let's say around here in your palm, and you'll feel it like in your shoulder. Like it's really weird. It's really and so when they talk about these like magical like energy channels through your body, I think they're referring to that. But yeah, it's a lot of what studies have shown that like your body is your skin is connected with connective tissue and like fascia and like different types of basically connective tissue. So that can transmit information from one part of the body to another. So that might be why you're feeling like, it might seem like a sort of sorcery, right? When it's poking you somewhere and you feel it somewhere else, but yeah.
That's cool. And I do see how it could help with fibromyalgia because if I recall correctly, that's kind of like a painful tingling sensation throughout your body. And so little pinpricks here and there. If you go through, the idea of that being flows of energy throughout your body, you can kind of essentially stop that flow, stop that pain from continuing on, something like that. That's my simple assumption of the situation. That's cool though. But yeah, acupuncture is definitely on my bucket list one day. I gotta try it. So Bangladesh.
Yes.
Born in Bangladesh, correct?
No, I was. My parents are from Bangladesh.
Okay.
And I was born in Saudi Arabia.
Okay.
So my parents, they're from Bangladesh. They met in the 90s. They got married in the 90s, and I was born in the 90s. And they basically, soon after they got married, they moved to Saudi Arabia. So the reason why they moved to Saudi Arabia is for jobs.
Okay.
And so I was born in Saudi Arabia. But my growth was very much around people from Bangladesh, my family. So I very much grew up as Bangladeshi. And I used to visit every summer for 3 months for the majority of my childhood. So.
Okay. All right. What brought you to America then?
Yeah, so a good question. Education. America has one of the best education systems. So I came here to get education in 2010 is when I started college, and then I worked for a few years in a job, and then now I'm back in school again to get my graduate degree. So yeah, education was a big reason, and the reason for that is when my family really valued sort of, go get a degree, whatnot. That's sort of my family philosophy. My parents themselves are not very educated, so my parents are not even college educated. So they wanted their sort of child to go educated. So I went, like back in the day when I was in high school, I was like, okay, I'm just going to apply to a bunch of places in the US, elsewhere. I don't know what I'm doing, but I'm gonna apply for a whole bunch of places.
Yeah.
And just see who pays me. So that was sort of my
Makes
thing.
sense. Yeah. Okay.
The U.S. education system is incredibly expensive. People are
Woo.
on debt for
Yeah.
a while.
Yeah.
So my choice of coming here was because the undergrad university that I went to basically gave me a full ride to come here.
Okay.
So that's sort of the reason why I chose to come to the US. It was a small school in the middle of nowhere in Connecticut. That's where I went to school. So that's basically why I chose to come to the US, and I've been loving it so far, being here.
Well, that's cool. That's good to hear. Definitely.
Yeah.
That's definitely good to hear. When it comes to your family, so your family is originally from Bangladesh. What part are they from?
So they're from Dhaka.
That's the capital, right?
That's the capital. Yeah.
Okay. Yep.
So it's very interesting. So culturally, if you ask someone where you're from, there's two meanings of it. So
okay.
Let me explain. So one meaning is sort of where is your village, or where is your like where do your ancestors come from?
Yeah.
And then the other one is where you live, basically. So now in the American sense, it's basically like where you're from, like where do you come from, right? So
yeah,
basically like they're from Dhaka. But then if you are to think about where their ancestors are from, so if someone asks that question, they're from these two sort of provinces called Comilla and Chandpur, which is basically these two regions near Dhaka, and so who used to be sort of one province, but then they separated. But yeah, that's basically where my family is from. Most of my parents' life, they've lived in sort of the major cities.
Okay.
In Dhaka, yep.
Yeah, because I know when I was looking into stuff with Bangladesh, it's a fairly new country.
Yep.
Like they gained their independence in 1971, if I recall correctly, and it used to be part of Pakistan or East Pakistan. Oh, yeah. It was like called East Pakistan, I think it was, or West.
That's right.
So when I was looking up like specific Bangladeshi history, there's not a lot. Hasn't been around a lot. So and a lot of it's fused with Pakistan culture. There's a lot of fusion with Indian culture. Yes, Indian culture's really big.
Yep.
And I was hooked to that when I looked into it, because I've spoken now to 2 people from India. Yeah. 3 actually now that I recall. I love that culture. The Indian culture. I love that culture. So the fact that you guys share a lot of similarities with them, I was like, all right, this is going to be cool. I know I'm going to be interested in this talk.
Yeah.
What are some of, I was asked, because because I posted it in the Discord that me and you're part of as well. Yeah. Every now and then, I'm talking to so-and-so from wherever, send me a question, right?
Yeah.
So I did that for you as well. So I've gotten 2 questions.
Yeah.
One of them was, what is something that people around the world use that we use semi-regularly, but we may not necessarily know is from Bangladesh? Is there something like that?
Oh, yes.
Okay.
So majority of clothing that you wear. So let's say in the US that you go to, you might go to, let's say, if you think of what a middle class or a working class person in the US will go in terms of clothing, they'll go to stores like H&M, or they'll go to Gap or stores like that to grab cheap clothes. Not too expensive, not even at the level of, let's say, Salvation Army or secondhand clothes, right? So if you look at where the tags is and what country they're from, you'll notice 2 major countries. One is China, number 1 is China, and number 2 is Bangladesh.
Really?
So, next time you're at one of these stores, just look at the tag. You'll see.
I'm curious about that now.
Yeah. So Bangladesh has a major garments industry. Major garments industry. And that is like the job of most urban working class people. They'll go to sort of these giant factories. You can think of them like in the US, sort of automobile factories, right? Giant sort of people going in, working these jobs, and then making a living based on that. So it's sort of like that. Textile garments is a huge industry. So I would say that's one thing that is definitely from Bangladesh that we use in the US or the West. People might not know that it's from Bangladesh.
Well, when she asked me that question, I was like, okay, Bangladesh isn't that old. So I was thinking you might not have had anything. So I tried to find one myself. I think I found another one.
Okay.
It's kind of in dispute right now, it seems, from what I was looking at. But radio communication, essentially, there was. I'm gonna pull it up because I don't want to butcher this guy's name. But he has been found to contribute a lot to radio communication and the radio industry as a whole. Is that a name you're aware of?
Jagdish Chandra Bose. Yep.
Okay. So if I've never heard this guy till today, essentially. But apparently, they're saying radio research. He came up with a whole lot of stuff around the time, Heinrich Hertz and everyone was figuring things out. He added to it, but he is credited with a few things. Which is cool. I mean, everyone, like our phones all have radios in them these days. Radio as, typical radio isn't as widely used anymore, but we use radio in some form or fashion just about every day. And this guy helped contribute to that. And I'm pretty sure that's definitely something a majority of people would not contribute to Bangladesh if they hadn't already known.
I'll tell you another one while we're on this. So there's this architect. Do you know about the Sears Tower in Chicago? It's sort of so it's a sort of a American icon. So in terms of infrastructure or architecture. So there's the architect of that was from Bangladesh. So his name is Fazlur Rahman Khan.
Really?
So you should look him up. You spell his name. You can just say Sears Tower architect Khan.
I got it right now. Okay. All right. Bangladeshi American. That is cool.
So he's from Bangladesh as well. So he created something in the US that is very popular now.
So. For sure. You know what that reminds me of? I meant to mention it earlier today on my Ireland episode. So one of America's greatest, structural icons right here is Sears Tower. Created by an individual from Bangladesh, from another country. The White House was designed by an Irishman.
Oh, cool.
Right? Probably easily the most American of all buildings.
Exactly.
Was designed by an Irishman. Like, come on, that's pretty cool. I like that. And I meant to mention it to the guys the other day. But and I know I get a kick out of it, and I'm glad that you brought that up, Mr. Khan, with the Sears Tower, because with the Discord you are part of, sometimes it gets a little bit of very politically charged in that discussion every now and then. Well, not even every now and then, pretty much all the time. But to see such well-known, very American structures built essentially by immigrants or foreigners, that is America right there. That is America as a whole. You can't argue with it. That is America. What we are.
It goes back to like everyone here in this country, no matter how many generations you track back, except for Native Americans.
Exactly.
For Native Americans, everyone else, you trace them back generations. Everyone is an immigrant here, so you can trace everyone back to certain cultures that they come from. So
yes, food.
Yeah.
My second question was food. And I mean, I'm going to ask you, you've seen some of my videos. I'm always asking about food. I love food. It's what I
Yeah.
do.
Same.
Everybody loves food.
I love food too.
So what is some of your favorite Bangladeshi dishes?
Yeah. So so let me just wrap this into the context of, so you mentioned we're very similar to Pakistan,
Yes.
India.
Yes.
And so you might have heard this from the Indian people you've spoken to. The food in this region is very diverse. Like you'll go like you'll maybe go 50 miles in another direction, you won't see the same thing
Okay.
being had. It's very different from in the US, I would say, because sort of the US icon is, let's say, McDonald's. You can see
Yeah.
that.
Hamburgers and hot dogs.
Yeah, exactly. So you can't necessarily see something like that in that region. So, but we use a lot of the basic spices and
Oh
ingredients.
yeah.
So things like cumin, things like turmeric, things like ginger, garlic, things like mustard. Like we use a lot of that types of spices.
Yeah.
So now there's regional variation. So in India, let's say, depending on whether you're in north of India or south of India, you'll see drastically different use of, let's say, dairy or meat.
Okay.
So, and this varies by their religious sort of preferences. This varies by their diets or what's available. So let's say in northern India, you'll see very heavy use of dairy products. You won't see that in southern India. You'll see more use of coconut-based products.
Okay.
Yep. Now, if you go more, and you'll see like, so two major religions in India is Hinduism and Islam. So Hindus are not allowed to, because of sacred reasons, not allowed to consume cows.
Yes.
So you won't see very much meat eaters in, let's say, a vast majority in India. But then when you move to Bangladesh, Bangladesh is a Muslim country. So it's an Islamic country. So we're allowed to have, let's say, meat. So you'll see we do eat meat, but also we have a heavy consumption of fish. So our sort of major dish in terms of protein is fish.
Okay.
And let me tell you why that's the case, because Bangladesh, another fun fact about Bangladesh is we have more than 20 rivers in the entire country.
Yeah, I didn't come across that.
Yeah, so that is sort of the so it's what's called a delta. So it's located.
Yes, I did come across that.
So it is very much ingrained with water and a lot of freshwater river supply of fish. So because of that, the primary sort of profession among people is agriculture and fishing. So people who live, let's say, in villages and non-urban areas, that is sort of so for that reason, our diet has really revolved around fish and rice. So that's sort of the main thing. And we have lentils as well as sort of more agricultural products. So you'll see most of our dishes being made with these ingredients. So that's a very like sort of historical descriptor.
Yes.
Going back to your question of what my favorite food is.
Yeah.
So, biryani. You should look up biryani. It is my favorite.
Biryani.
Yep. It's Biryani. It's sort of a popular across the Indian subcontinent, and there's a lot of regional variation. And the way you can think about this, it's rice cooked with some sort of meat in it, in very slow cooked way. And it's the most delicious thing in the world.
The most delicious in the world.
Seriously, I would say top 5 favorite things that I have on my, among the top 5 is this, but also I have American barbecue.
Oh, yeah, man. Woo.
Yeah, so that's right up there. So this it competes with that. If you ever get a chance to have good biryani, you should take advantage of it.
I mean, I like, because you were scaring me for a second when you spoke a lot about fish, because I'm not a seafood fan at all.
Yeah.
So if I can have cow meat in there. I know goat meat is prevalent over there. Any other type of meat. And I mean, if you mix meat with rice, it's hard to go wrong.
Oh yeah.
No, it's very difficult. Now, my only question though is because it's from where, the regions at with Pakistan and India.
Yeah.
I'm not a fan of spicy foods.
Oh yeah.
So would I like this though?
So it depends. You can get a sort of milder version of this.
Okay.
In the US. If you go to the US, you'll get a milder version of this.
Yeah.
I'm not sure if there is any. Are there Indian restaurants around you where you live?
I can't think of any off the top of my head, but I'm pretty sure if I was to Google one, I could find one. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm sure you'll find this dish there. And if you tell them to make it mild, tell them that like, you can't just be hey, I can't tolerate.
Yeah. Oh man, I'm straight up with everybody. When it comes to hot foods, I'm a bitch. I don't do it.
Yeah.
I nope. Not my thing, man. Not my thing. Not at all.
So yeah, I mean, mild version, you'll enjoy it.
Okay, I can do that.
I could even cook it for you if you ever come up here in Michigan. Yeah, hit me up. I'll cook you biryani. It can be done very mild.
You got it. No problem. No problem at all. I'm gonna come during the summer months though, because it's too damn cold up there usually.
Oh yeah. Don't come here over the winters.
Hell no. So biryani, and that looks like a typical dinner dish, supper dish. Do you guys have desserts? I know you do. Everybody has a dessert. What's your favorite Bangladesh dessert?
Yeah. So so there's actually I've top two. I'll give you top two. So one is called Rasmali. So it's spelled Roshmali. So it's basically like sort of these cheese balls that have been sort of soaked in like a sugar syrup, and then they're put in milk, and so it's very spongy. It's very like that's basically what it looks like, and it's delicious. I'm trying to figure out a comparison to any sort of American sort of desserts. Like, can't think of any that would. It's
we don't have a lot of cheese desserts.
Yeah. So it's not. It's like if you think of like a very like cake that's very moist and soft, and it has a lot of like liquid in it. Like I don't know if you've had like strawberry shortcake or yeah. So you know how it gets soggy, very soggy because So you can think of it like very soggy, like sort of cheese balls. It doesn't sound as appetizing.
It doesn't. I'm sorry. It does not.
You gotta trust me on this. It's
I love cheese. I do love cheese. So I'm assuming if I love cheese and this is a dessert cheese, I'd probably like that as well.
Yeah. I'm sure you'll like this one. So that's one that and actually there's different regions of Bangladesh that pride themselves on making this. Like it's kind of like how in the South there is like Kansas will be like our barbecue is the best, or like and Texas will be like our barbecue is the best. So in Bangladesh there's different regions that so let's say Kumilla will say, oh, ours is the best, and there's people all over the country going there to get those, and there's huge lines outside of that place all the time, and they run out. It's a similar thing. So this is one where there's regional variation and people love either one style or the other. And then the second sort of thing is shamai. So it's Shemai. Shamai is basically also like it's like sort of vermicelli noodles. It's like very thin noodles that has been cooked in sort of milk and sugar and all the good stuff. It's like a pudding basically. And it's delicious. So you put some nuts and raisins and things like that as well in it.
I do love raisins. I love raisins. Is this?
Yeah, that's right. Yep. And there's different versions of this. So there's sort of a dry version you might be able to see here. There's sort of a drier version where it's cooked down a little, not as much milk.
Okay.
And also like more like watery versions of it. So very, very thick, very like, it's like oatmeal, like you're having like a hearty bowl of oatmeal. That's what it's like. And this is very popular back home.
Okay. All right. Very unique. Cheese dessert. And well, yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
I like that. That is a unique looking dish right there.
Yeah.
That is
And
very unique.
There's as you can see, there's different versions of this.
Oh yeah.
Even if you go from household to household, they'll be like very different.
Oh yeah.
Back home, like in let's say the culture is in the neighborhood. If someone makes one of this, you give to your neighbors, you give to your sort of people who live in the same building or whatnot. You just distribute it because you make it in large batches, and so they'll people will be like, oh, like this woman makes such good this they don't. So yeah, there's a lot of talk in the neighborhood about it.
I got you. Oh yeah. So in terms of like traditions and ceremonies and whatnot, what are some uniquely Bangladesh type traditions?
Yeah. So so there is that question can be in sort of two parts. So one is what is like in terms of the heritage of Bangladesh, what's sort of unique to that, but then the second would be religiously. So in Bangladesh, a lot of religious traditions are very much merged with cultural traditions. So oftentimes you won't be able to find a distinction between them. So the major tradition in Bengali culture, so the term Bengali again is not just describing Bangladesh, but it's also describing West India. So West India is basically where the border is, and they speak the same language. They have a lot of same cultures. So the sort of Bengali tradition is called Boishakh. So it's spelled Boishakh. If you Google this, you'll see like very colorful images. And it happens around in April. And it's just sort of the start of the new year.
I did come across that.
Yeah. So, and it's a very colorful, it's a celebration of spring, basically. It's a celebration of like new like year. It's a celebration of new like you'll see sort of these like images like that. And it's a celebration of spring. It's a celebration of new year. It's a celebration of new crops. So that's how it originated. It's like farmers used to celebrate, oh, we're gonna get new crops and we're gonna like be well fed this season. It's a celebration of that essentially.
Yeah, so, I know one of the things that's always interested me when I looked this up, like you said, it's the start of the Bengali New Year, right? Yeah. Which starts in April. I've always been like, because I'm born and raised here in America, beginning of our calendar is January 1st. But then other cultures, the start of their year it changes. You know, and that's just a strange thing to wrap my head around sometimes, you know, because like, how can your calendar start in April? It starts in January. Exactly. You know, it's a fun thing to learn because like you guys, it's not the same everywhere. You know, everyone has their own thing. Like I can't remember off the top of my head, but I'm sure Chinese New Year starts somewhere different, and various cultures around the globe start technically out on a different month or whatever. And that's just always cool. I like that. And I mean, look at this. Who doesn't love, you know, floats and parades? And I mean, that's always cool, man. That's always cool.
And there's a lot of celebration of food here as well. So there's actually different types of food that's eaten during this period. So we basically eat like fish during this time. There's a certain kind of fish that we eat. It's called ilish. It's a very like prized fish. It's quite expensive.
Okay.
So you typically tend to eat that, and you eat that with some rice. It's called panta bhat, which is basically like watery rice. It doesn't sound appetizing at all, but it's very porridge. It's like porridge. That's like, and so people will typically eat that during this period. They'll dress up, as you can see, like this. Like people are wearing like white and red. Like those are sort of colors of spring. You'll see. So yeah, it's very like festive. And people have like flowers everywhere and things like that. It's a very festive celebration.
I want to ask real quick is, I know you guys have the Bengali tiger over there.
Yes.
And I see this owl. Does the owl represent something?
I think it's one of the animals that we have in our country. That's why it's a symbol. But the Bengali tiger is definitely the number one symbol. It's actually an endangered species. And so there is a lot of efforts now to preserve the Bengali tiger.
Because I know the second to last Indian interview I did, the guy was from West Bengal. And we mentioned that. And I think when I looked up the number of Bengali tigers, it was like 350 in the world. And I'm a cat lover. I love cats. I have a few here. My mom has, tiger statues. Tigers are freaking cool. White tigers, you know what I'm saying? It's a badass fucking animal, you know? So just to see that sucks ass. Definitely sucks ass. Especially when it's not the only animal that's sadly going in that direction. Oh man. So since you've been to the States, in the 10 years you've been here, have you gone back?
Oh yeah, I've gone back several times. Yeah.
Okay.
Most recently, 2019 in December, I was there.
Okay. All right. That's cool.
Yeah.
What is one of the things that where you're at now, or in the States in general, you don't really find a lot of that when you go back to Bangladesh, you can't wait to try or to experience again?
Yeah, I mean, food definitely. So have sort of the home cooked meals. That is definitely a big one that I mean, there's immigrant communities here that you can get some stuff, but it's not the same, I would say. So food is definitely one that I would miss. But also like the family relatives. I have huge families. So my dad has 7 brothers and sisters. My mom has 5 brothers and sisters. So we're very big families. We're very close-knit. So family is a very big thing that brings people together in our culture.
For sure.
Very, very valued.
Yes.
And you'll see that in the US in certain places more than others, but where families are valued. But yeah, it's quite valued back there. So yeah, those are things that I miss most.
And that's understandable. Family's everything. 100%. 100% there. Shit, I just had it. Oh crap! Anyways, while I try and remember what just escaped my brain here for a second, I was looking into something. Your national sport is something I've never came across before in Bangladesh.
Yeah.
Was kabaddi?
Yeah, kabaddi. Yep.
Kabaddi.
Yeah.
What is that? I have never seen a sport anywhere close to that.
Yeah, so it's sort of like a wrestling type match. You can think of it like that. It can get very like because people also do that in the mud. Like you can people really like trying to like tackle each other. It's sort of like if you take American football and you remove the football aspect of it, and you sort of just have the physical fighting. Like that's basically what it is. It's I haven't personally played a lot of it because I didn't in the times that I was in Bangladesh, my parents were very like oh, don't do certain things, like don't. So I barely had the chance to do this very much, but yeah, it's a very popular sport.
Yeah, I mean, again, I've never. It's curious looking. It's curious. I'm as soon as we're done, I'm gonna like pull up a YouTube page
Oh yeah.
and watch a little bit of it, because sports are one of those things. Like you said, family brings a lot of people together. In the time you've been here in the States, sports brings a lot of people together as well. It is really big over here in this country, and that I think music brings everybody together. Sports brings people together. Not as much as music, I would say. Family definitely, and religion brings a lot of people together as well, for sure. Speaking of music, I don't know what is your preference when it comes to music, genre wise?
Are you talking about English music or Bengali music or just in general?
In general, yes, in general.
Yeah, I don't have a genre preference. Like there's country music I love. Like honestly,
really?
there's some country songs that I absolutely love.
Yeah.
But then I like pop music, like English pop music. I like classical music.
Yeah.
Bengali as well. There's pop music. There's classical music. I love that. But you'll see me listen to very international things. So I consider myself more of a global person. So since I also grew up in Saudi Arabia, so I'll listen to Arabic music as well. I'll listen to Persian music as well. So my name, Ish, the full form of it is actually Persian. So it's not even yeah. So yeah, I consider myself more of a global citizen. So yeah, I'll listen to basically anything. You'll see me like switching between different things all the time.
Challenge accepted.
Yeah.
The reason I asked is a lot of times when I talk with people around the world, one, very open, very caring, inspiring people, everyone I've spoken to. But at times I can kind of gauge what they listen to, even without asking, right? I don't know if that makes any sense, but like you said, you'll listen to an international flavor, I guess, when it comes to music. You'll give it a chance, right? I do that every time I'm looking into a country. I'll bring up their music. Now, sadly, because I put this on YouTube, I won't be able to play anything. But I was looking into it, and one genre that I absolutely love is metal, heavy metal music, right? And I know one music, again, universal. It's everywhere. Generally, however, when I think of when I was younger, when I thought of metal music or hard rock in general, I didn't necessarily think of non-Western countries.
Yeah.
If that makes any sense. You can call it closed-minded, that's fine. But after actively searching for other countries that do heavy metal music, my God, my brain just boom, exploded. There is it's Deshi Rock. And there was a band that I was playing right before me and you got on that even my wife downstairs heard. And she's like, that sounds good. I was like, I know, right? The Illumination is a Bangladeshi, essentially like experimental, a little bit of symphonic metal. I'm going to send you a track of theirs after we're done here. Let me know what you think. Let me know what you think.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not surprised at all, because you'll see like a lot of these bands that pop up in Bangladesh. They tend to be people who are inspired by the West, right? So maybe they'll like come to the U.S. or other Western countries like me, and they'll get inspired they'll listen to metal, they'll listen to like rap. So there's Bengali rap too, by the way.
Yes, I think it was Bengali Youth Project is something going around right now that it seems, if I recall, it was like a collection of individuals. And in some of their songs, it has they do rap. They do. And
Yep.
it was interesting. Now, granted, I prefer more metal than rap, especially these days.
Yeah.
But it's still like that. It's always cool to know that, again, how I thought, years ago was majority a Western thing.
Yep.
Isn't. It's everywhere. And
Yeah.
that and then when you do listen to other countries that they add their own flavor, their own instruments to it. So like there's actually a few bands from India that I love. Like when they come on, like you can tell, like it's got a little Indian sound to it, that doesn't sound American for sure.
Yeah.
And there's a Japanese band that I love that when they come on, I'm like, oh, okay, yeah, it's got a little Japanese twang to it, it's got a little Japanese flavor to it. And now I'm listening to De-Illumination, and I haven't quite listened to enough to get that Bangladesh flavor.
Yeah.
But now that I found that flavor's down there, I'm gonna be looking. I'll
have to look up this band. I haven't heard of them before.
I will send it to you. I think I have it pulled up on YouTube right now. But again, I don't want to get kicked off. Even though I don't get money, so I don't have to worry about demonetization or anything. But still, I will send that to you.
Eventually, hopefully you'll make money off of this. So
that'd be great. I mean, everybody wants that. Everybody wants that for sure. One thing that I like to look into, that because I think this is gonna be the last thing, and then we'll get to more of Saudi Arabia topics, is stuff that the person's country has done that's pretty cool. And one, like your that scientist, Dr. Bose.
Yep.
I'm assuming he was a doctor with what he was doing. That's obviously incredibly cool. Another thing that I found out that was a countrywide thing for Bangladesh is y'all have a few Guinness World Records.
Yeah.
You have one for the longest human chain.
Uh-huh.
Do you know about this one?
I have heard about this, but I haven't looked deeply into it. Yeah.
Well, it happened in 2004.
Okay.
Happened in 2004. Bangladesh World Record was set when over 5 million people joined hands together. The longest human chain in the world, stretching from
Teknaf to Tetulia. Yep.
Okay.
So the southernmost point and the northernmost point. So it's literally taking the south and the north of the country, and
they went the whole country.
Yep. Yeah. Exactly. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's insane.
Yeah. So those are the two ends of the country, basically, that they've been joined in with people.
That is wild.
Yeah, it's pretty insane.
5 million people.
Yeah.
That's
as you're saying this number, I'm another thing that I wanted to mention, just the sheer number of people in our country. So just to give you that. When people ask me about Bangladesh, I tell them this. So in terms of size, geography wise, it's equal to the size of the state of Iowa or the state of New York. So those are very 1-to-1 ratio in terms of size. But the population of Bangladesh is 150 million. Population of the US is 300 million.
Yep.
So the way that I put this into perspective is you take half of the people of the US and you shove them into the state of Iowa or the state of New York.
Yep.
And that's basically what you get in Bangladesh. So
yep. I read some of the articles I came across. They use the analogy of, one, I think at one point, but either Bangladesh or how do you pronounce the capital city? Dhaka?
Yeah, Dhaka.
Was at one point the most densely populated city in the world.
Yeah.
I don't remember the number, but I do know that was a title that was once held.
It's extremely crowded, yeah.
Yes. But the other one that's still current is, and like you said, if you look at the size of Iowa or New York and picture that, but you guys or Bangladesh is the 8th 8th most populated country in the world.
Yep.
So again, for all the Americans out here, listen, we all generally know how big Iowa is. We definitely have an idea of how big New York is.
Yeah.
Not that big.
Yeah, not that
But
big.
in terms of country, that for Bangladesh, it's the 8th most populated
Here's another
in the world.
Here's another thing. We are in fact so populated just by population that our language, Bengali, is the sixth most spoken language in the world.
No way.
Because of how many people
live.
It's sixth most spoken language in the world.
Wow.
Yeah.
So I'm assuming then you have to. Are you fluent? Do you know Bengali? Then I'm guessing, right?
Yeah, I'm fluent in reading, writing, speaking. Yeah.
Okay. If you had to say, "Hi, my name is," your name, Ish. Say a sentence in Bengali and then translate it in English for me.
Yeah. So, Amar Nam Ish, which means my name is Ish. What else? Aajke abhawa onek meghla, which means the weather today is very gloomy.
Okay.
Ami ekhon cha khaitesi, which means I am drinking tea.
Okay.
Yeah.
The sixth most popular. Out of everything we've spoken about today, that blows my mind. That blows my mind more than it being the 8th most populous country or populated country, more than anything else that we've spoken about today.
Yeah,
that is wild.
And it's not just people in Bangladesh. It's also West India, which counts because there's a whole bunch of, and it's also Bengali diaspora. So people from Bangladesh who are immigrating to all these places, like the US has huge swaths of Bangladeshi immigrants. Canada has, even Ireland has a bunch of.
Really? No, Scotland. Well, Scotland has a huge Indian culture, so I'm sure there's a fair amount of Bangladeshis over there as well.
UK as well. Yeah, pretty much all over the world. We like to, it's actually kind of a, I don't know if it is a joke. Yeah, it's kind of a joke, but it's also like we are born to like go elsewhere. Like that's how our minds think. Like, so we're, the culture is very much like we have a joke in our family, basically. So my grandfather, my great grandfather grew up in the village. And so my grandfather also grew up in the village, and then he decided to make a move to the city, to the main city in Dhaka. So he decided to immigrate there. My dad decided to immigrate from there to Saudi Arabia, so for job purposes.
Yes.
And his son has decided to move to the US, right? And so there's this running joke in my family that my kids are gonna want to go to Mars or like something. That's sort of the joke.
I like that. I like that. That's cool.
Yeah. So we're all constantly moving. And it's because of our cultural mindset. We like economic opportunity. We like sort of education. We value economic opportunity, things like that. So that's why we're constantly moving. Like when the reason why I mentioned this is because like one of the things, if you look at the US political landscape, a big thing that gets brought up is why can't people like who are stuck in like rural places in the US just like go elsewhere to cities, things like that. And it's a mindset, I think, problem, because it's not only do you have family or things like that, you're also like there's supposed to be a mindset which will bring you to other places. So the reason why I say that in the Bengali mindset, it's very much like, oh yeah, we're gonna move. Yeah, we're gonna move. We're gonna look for better opportunities. We're gonna do this, that. That's fine with us. So it's a cultural mindset, I would say, and that's why we have this widespread Bengali diaspora across the world.
I mean, that makes sense. I work with a guy who's originally from Vietnam, and their cultural mindset is if you want it, get out and do it, essentially. Yeah. So when he came to work with me, he's I want to say he's in his 40s, maybe close to 50. I'm not exactly sure, but he was working like 3 jobs.
Yeah.
He was working extremely hard, so he had multiple family members living with him, supporting everybody, but they all worked as well. Like they had plenty of people working where one of them probably could have not worked or didn't have to carry on with 3 jobs, but that's just how they were. It's just how that, like you said, that cultural mindset for him was, well, I want this, so I got to work for that. Therefore, I'm going to work for that. You find that I've come across that more than once in speaking with individuals from other countries, that cultural mindset, because there's some countries over towards the Baltic Sea, like it wasn't Poland, Denmark. Denmark was one. They have this strange cultural mindset of not being proud of accomplishments.
Yeah.
Because the lady I spoke to was an author, and she wrote a book, and she used the example that if no, that was the lady from Estonia, excuse me. But they both had the same essentially cultural mindset. So Estonia, Birgit, she wrote a book, and she said it was kind of frowned upon if she went out and said, hey, I wrote this book. Look at me. I'm an author. I did it, blah, blah, blah. That's kind of looked down upon over there. What needed to happen, the correct way to go about that was like her neighbor or a friend, like, hey, look, Birgit wrote a book. Look at her. Look what she did. This is great. Good for her. That's fine. But if they did it themselves, it's like, what are you doing? And hearing that from an American standpoint, which you've been here, 10 years now, pride is huge over here.
Oh, yeah.
For dumb reasons sometimes. Like we are proudful for the dumbest shit at times, you know what I'm saying? But we'll shout it to the rooftops. Yeah, I do, Exactly. So to hear that was, I'm gonna say that's more of a negative cultural mindset, which even she agreed, and she hopes that country will grow and get past that. But then, like with Bangladesh and definitely with Vietnam, that culture that essentially strengthens the family as it grows.
Yeah.
If you can pass that on to where, kind of like you say, your dad moved, you moved, your kids are going to go to Mars now. That's essentially growth and expansion. Your kids, wherever they go, are going to end up learning something new that you didn't know. You learned a new side that your family didn't know properly beforehand, so on and so forth. So that's just growing, maturing, developing for the betterment of the whole family. And that's an awesome type of mindset to have. That's some good shit right there. I like that. That's some good shit.
and mindset is I always wonder what the origination of mindset is, because it varies so much across cultures. Like why do you think the US has this pride mindset, which a lot of other places, I know we're going off topic a little bit, but
that's fine.
Yeah, but let's say pride is sort of correlated with nationalism in a way, right? So like you'll see this across all cultures that are very nationalistic. They're they have
very prideful.
Big pride. So I always wonder like what the origination of that is. And I mean, in some cases it can be valuable, right? So like if you're in war with another country, sort of having a sort of a national identity is important. But like another one that I heard recently is that during 9/11 was the last time when there was no political divide. Everyone came together in a very, very nonpartisan way, and the national identity was very strong.
Very.
So it can be beneficial during those times, right?
Extremely,
so,
yes.
Yeah, I'm always wondering about that. Like, what are some things that are
that led to it?
Yeah.
My opinion is, I mean, if you look at what we have done in our past, like from how we started to where we got to where we are, right? You know, we won our independence from Britain.
Yep.
Awesome. You know, big check mark, huge victory, right? We did that. Depending on whose side you want to pick, you know, the Civil War was a victory. You know, again, depending on whose side you're on.
Yep.
And the Cold War, I wouldn't say is a victory as much as it kind of dissipated essentially, but nothing bad happened. Definitely nothing crazy bad happened.
Yeah.
World War II, you know, victory, even if we did do some dirty shit at the same time. But at that time, fucking everybody did some fucked up things.
Yeah.
But victory, right? And so you go off of that, and since you've been here, like with Vietnam, you know, that wasn't a victory, but that's also not spoken about. Yeah. You know, it's kind of like you know, it's not acknowledged for that reason, because it was not a victory. It's a blemish. You know, it's a blemish on our history. And then you look at 9/11. 9/11, obviously, we took a big hit, but we've bounced back.
Yep.
So I think when it comes to stuff like that, we tend to focus on the big victories, where we're at, where we came from, you know, and where we're at now in terms of, you know, like our presence on the world stage, very prominent, obviously. So a lot of people take that for granted.
Yeah.
My opinion, it's taken for granted in a sense that, yeah, you know, we've done some good things, but we've done some fucked up things, and we're not perfect. So one of the things that I find an issue with is I'm born and raised in, I'm very proud of being an American and all that, but at the same time, I acknowledged where we've made mistakes. Yeah. I've acknowledged where we have work to do. I've acknowledged where, you know, well, yeah, just that, like where we've made mistakes, where we need to work, you know, places we need to work on and stuff like that. There's a portion that I feel don't acknowledge that. Yeah. You know, in terms of, like I said, the big example would be Vietnam to an extent. It's just really not spoken about. Yeah. You know, it's like out of sight, out of mind. You know, if you don't talk about it, you don't know about it, right? So if you don't talk about our failures or where we're lacking or the areas we need to improve on, then all you know is what we're good at, what we have going for us, this, that, and the other. So you're kind of willful. I love the term willfully ignorant to, well, to, you know, places we need to work at. Like, it's fine. Like, I know the thing, especially with the climate we have right now, which I know, you know, me and you have talked about on the Discord numerous times. You know, patriotism is amazing, but that entails that you at least acknowledge the failures, the weaknesses. It's okay to have an area where you need to improve upon. Yeah. You know, no one's perfect. Nothing's perfect. No country's perfect. No one, no business, doesn't matter. Everything fails. Everything, you know, takes a step back. You got to take a step back and be like, all right, getting a little ahead of ourselves right now. You know, let's take a step back. Okay, focus here, come out, do better. You know, that's kind of how we've done. And we've done that off of the participation of people from all over. And I think that's another thing that is severely forgotten and ignored, that we are a country of immigrants. Like, that is how we are where we are today, from the help of everyone all over the place. Like, there's nothing you can touch essentially that's big, like, America, that wasn't worked on, created, made. Some type of immigrant had their hand in it at some point or another. That's forgotten. That seems to have been forgotten, or again, ignored for some reason. Yeah. And That needs that's aggravating, man.
Yeah.
That's aggravating. I hate that. I hate it.
Yeah.
I hate it. So, anyways, all right. On to some hopefully brighter conversations.
Yeah.
Saudi Arabia.
Yep.
So I wanted to focus mainly on Bangladesh because even you mentioned you pride yourself more in your Bangladeshi heritage,
Yep.
it seemed, than Saudi Arabia heritage.
Yep.
But so what are some things about Saudi Arabia that you do like?
Yeah. So just to give listeners some context, so my family moved to Saudi Arabia for economic opportunity. So Middle Eastern countries in general are very popular for immigrants. So immigrants from not only poorer countries, so sort of like the Indian subcontinent, India, Pakistan, Bangladesh, Nepal, all Sri Lanka, all these countries have people who migrate there for jobs, like working class jobs, but also very popular for Westerners. So very popular for Americans. In Saudi Arabia, there is about, I think about 40,000 or so Americans who live in Saudi Arabia. And
really?
Yeah. And I've interacted with a bunch of them. My dad, his entire work life, I'll tell listeners more about this in a second, but he has interacted with Americans in Saudi Arabia quite a bit. Even not only Americans, but British people, Canadians, etc., all go to Saudi Arabia, but also the Middle East in general for economic opportunity of various kinds, because there's a lot of jobs there.
Yeah, that place has grown a lot in the last few decades.
Oh yeah. It has so much jobs, and the main reason why people go there is there's zero taxes. So
that makes sense.
Yeah, so Americans who work there, they're very valued and prized. So Americans are very looked up to by Saudis. So Americans are very much praised. They're allies, very good allies. Americans who work in Saudi Arabia get a lot of benefits. Like you'll get free housing, you'll get free insurance, you'll get free car transportation. So and then all your salary you're getting is tax-free. So everything you earn basically goes in your pocket. So a lot of Americans prefer that. Like my dad has worked with a bunch of Americans, and they say, yeah, I prefer working here. I could have never made that money in the US. So they think of them, I'm going to work here until I'm 65, and then I'm going to go retire back in the US. Like, that's how they see it. But anyways, so my point was that my family moved for economic opportunity, and there's a whole lot of people from Bangladesh and all these who move to Saudi Arabia and other Middle Eastern countries, Dubai, Qatar, etc., and they form communities there. So they form communities in sort of bigger extent than you'd see in the US. So there's literally neighborhoods full of Bangladeshis in Saudi Arabia. And to the point that we have our own school. So we have our own school that is run by Bangladeshis, and there's let's say mosques, and there's all these sort of institutions very much built around Bangladeshis. So that's why I barely interacted with Saudis when growing up, because of how immersed I was in that community, through my school, through my mosque that I went to, etc. So it's very, very much integrated with Bangladeshis. That's how I was. So so that's just some context. And so to answer your question, which I forgot, if you want to remind me, what
well, I think it was, even I forgot it now. I think it was, what are some things that you do like about Saudi Arabia?
Yeah, so economic opportunity.
For sure.
Excellent place. If I were to, I would maybe in the future consider going back there for like economic opportunity, because it's massive. Like the amount of money that you can earn, there's nowhere else in the world you can do that, honestly. So that's one reason. Second is food. Food is excellent. So it's different cuisine, by the way, than Bangladeshi cuisine. Very milder, no spices at all, by the way. So you'll very much enjoy it.
Yes.
Yeah. So food is excellent. Weather. This is a personal preference. So I personally prefer hot, dry weather. I'm not talking about hot, humid. That's
what I got. That's what I got right now. Ugh.
Yeah.
I hate it.
So hot, humid is also the weather of Bangladesh, by the way, because it's
really?
Yeah. So it's hot.
That makes sense.
Yeah. And it's very tropical as well. So it's very it's hot during summer, very, very hot, incredible.
Yeah.
But hot, dry is very different.
Yeah, I've never experienced that. I've heard about it. I've heard because again, I'm born and raised in the South, and it's hot and humid. But I have a friend who went to visit her mother in Arizona.
Yep.
That's hot and dry, and she loved it. And she's like, it's totally different. It's
totally
hot,
different.
but it's not the same. I was like, I don't know.
Yeah,
but I haven't experienced it. So yeah,
it's seriously not the same. It's much more enjoyable. It's you can think of it. And I'm not saying you try this, okay? But when you're near the like you're cooking something, you're near the stove. You sort of get like a gush of hot.
Yeah.
So,
Air.
It doesn't sound as pleasing, but
I got you.
When the wind is blowing in desert climates, it sort of feels like that, and it actually wicks away any of your sweat or things like that. So it's actually like cooling in a way.
Okay.
It's very, and you, because of the low humidity, you don't even sweat as much because of that reason. The main worry is sort of protecting your face and and things from hot air. So that's sort of if you look at sort of Saudi Bedouins, so Bedouins are basically people, nomads who live in deserts. If you look them up, there's a lot of you can see they're covered with clothing, both men and women. You'll see that they're very much covered. Their head is covered. Their bodies are covered with clothing. And that's not one might think that's for religious reasons. It's not actually. It's to protect themselves with, so you'll see that they're very much covered in clothing. And that is very much to protect themselves from desert climate. So they're wearing all this so that the hot desert wind doesn't burn their face or something like that.
Yeah.
So the clothing is for that reasons. Going back to the question, I really enjoy the desert weather. Those are some of the things that I really enjoy about. I miss about Saudi Arabia too. But another thing I would say is religion as well. So it's very much because I'm Muslim, and there's a lot of symbols, and there's a lot of religious holy sites in Saudi Arabia that my family used to be able to visit regularly. When I was a kid, we would go all the time. There's sort of a level of peace that's associated with that. So it's very much so. Last summer, I visited Italy. I visited Rome. For a conference, and I got a chance to go to the Vatican, and that gave me a very it's very peaceful there. It has an environment. Although I don't identify with the Catholic religion, but I can see how people who live there enjoy a level of peace, a level of serenity, a level of identity with God and their religion. So and it's the same thing in Saudi Arabia. So in the sort of the holy areas, you enjoy that level of peace and sort of religious identification. So that's another thing that I miss, I would say.
I mean, that makes sense for sure. That makes sense for sure. I mean, as you know, I'm not a religious person, but believe what you want. It doesn't affect me. I'm not going to tell you what to do. You don't tell me what to do. We'll get along just fine. So since you've been here, do you plan, if I remember right, you did say that did you apply for citizenship, or you said residency? Is there a difference?
Yeah, there's in the US there's a difference of that.
Okay.
So, in the US, it's a long process. So first you have to get sort of a residency, and then you have to get citizenship. So it's it can be up to a 10-year long process. Depends on. It's very difficult to do that in the US. But yeah, it's I would say for myself, yeah, it's in the works right now.
Well, that's cool. Like I said, I hope you get it. I like a lot of the ideas that we've spoken about off this episode on the Discord. For me, I think whenever you are able to get that, I'm gonna love to see what you put forth with your ability to vote at that time. Because I like because you come from a different culture, you come from a different upbringing than somebody born and raised here in the States. So you see America differently than an American would, right? But even still, I think when it comes to that, it boils down to essentially, to go back to what I was talking about earlier, what this country is, a nation of immigrants. It is what we are. It is how we got here. You know, to have those ideas from other people, from all walks of life, from everywhere, it just brings everybody together.
Yeah.
You know, it's like if you're working on a puzzle, right? This is going to be a weird analogy, but if you're working on a puzzle and you're stuck, you can't figure it out. And you know, your friend, your wife, husband, whatever it is, walks by, and you know, you get that second eye, you know, like second opinion or whatever, and like, oh, it's this. And it was right there in front of you the whole damn time, but because you were so focused on your mindset, the way you were thinking, you weren't able to reach that answer. But then here comes somebody else and be like, oh, it's this, or oh, it's that. You know what I'm saying? You need other ideas. You need a multitude of ideas, a multitude of upbringings to be able to see the world in a way where we can all kind of get along. I don't know if that makes any sense. It does in my head, at least.
It makes a lot of sense. So
yeah. But Ish, I want to thank you. You've been awesome. Again, I'm glad you're here. I'm glad we were able to talk. I look forward to any other conversations with me and you have in the future. And yeah, man, you have yourself a good day out up there. And I'm visit sometime in the summer to get some biryani.
Biryani, yeah.
Biryani. All right. I want some biryani, and I'm going to send you that de-illumination track as soon as we get off.
Please do. Please do.
No problem. Is there anything that you want to plug? Like, are you doing anything like Zach? I know Zach has his podcast. Do you have anything similar that you would like to get people to follow you for?
I don't, but I'll give a shout out for you. I'll say if you haven't subscribed to Red's Ramblings podcast, please do so on YouTube and other media that you have.
I appreciate it.
I've enjoyed hearing you and the collaborations that you've done. I think it's cool stuff you're doing. I hope you get to make a business out of it. Yeah.
I appreciate it, man.
I think you have a lot of good conversations with people, and I think there's a market for it. So nowadays,
I hope so.
And yeah, so yeah, I hope it gets going for you.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, at the end of the day, I'm just having fun, learning new things every time I speak to people. Like, again, what was the thing you just said that blew my mind?
Language, sixth most spoken language.
Yeah, that just, whoa, that really blew my mind. And again, you're the third person from another country I've spoken to today. And that's probably going to be the one that sticks out that I recall. Besides Poland with ketchup on pizza. That's weird. Even though I have had it. It's not that bad, but it's still weird. Anyways, Ish, thank you so much. And you have yourself a good rest of your day, sir.
You too. All right. I'll see you.
All right.